Last week, Intel
Let's get started. So the first thing you're going to want to do is either fire up Streamlabs OBS under my account. Just click on Merch Store under my account, click on Add a New Product, and here we can get into the details of what we want to make. Here we'll click on Upperware to add our logo or image. And here you can choose from your gallery, or from the top left, choose an image from your computer. We'll choose this one, and here we can drag around to place and use the tools on the right to fine tune. First shirt, someone buys and click save. Moments before your product shows up in your merch store. And there we go. We have our very first product in our. And if you have a lot of products to make, you can use the upload wizard here on the right. Up and running, you can let your viewers know that they can find the store on your tip page. Alternatively, you can add some panels by clicking on the panels tab here and choosing one of these to add to your profile. And that's we're good to go. To download in the description below.
Intel's 8700K 6-core 12-thread Coffee Lake CPU launched, and with it a very curious question from Twitter asking why all of our benchmarks were so vastly different. Linus and I had nearly identical benchmarks, where Paul and Kyle had lower benchmarks, and someone was wanting to know what the heck is going on. Well, it was actually noted that anyone running ASUS motherboards were seeing a significantly higher score. Well, why is that? Well, it's because ASUS motherboards launch with something called MCE, or multi-core enhancement, enabled by default, which is actually causing some low-level or high-level, depending on the way you look at it, overclocking to take place. The question is whether or not the consumer is aware of that, and whether or not it's something that consumers should be concerned about having something like this enabled when they're not actually aware of it. Cooler Master is going back to their roots with the new Cosmos C700P, featuring a dual curved tempered glass side panel, all metal construction, built-in RGB case illumination, USB 3.1 Type-C on the front panel, and an open internal layout that is fully modular and reversible. Learn more about Cooler Master's Cosmos C700P by heading to coolermaster.com. Now, to be fair, this is not new. Multi-core enhancement has been around for a long time. In fact, you can find threads going all the way back to 2011, 2010, and sometimes even older about multi-core enhancement and what it does on the motherboard. A lot of people seem to be very confused. It makes no sense to buy a K-SKU CPU and not overclock it, so what ASUS has kind of done by default is enable MCE, and when it recognizes that it's got an overclocking friendly CPU in there, it will go ahead and allow it to run all cores at max turbo clock when applicable, when things like temperatures and whatnot are actually taken into account. So what we've got right here is my 8700K bench that we put together last week. The only thing that's different is I threw a Titan XP on there because YOLO! But anyway, I know it's really annoying, I know. What we've got right here is the exact same test bench. 16 gigs of Dominator Platinum 3000 megahertz, which, as we've talked about before, you know, if you are not actually overclocking your memory or even enabling the XMP profile, you can see we're only running at 1069 megahertz. Remember, it's that times 2. So we're only running at 2133 on the memory. But if we take a look at our CPU, you can see right now at idle, we're sitting at 0.688, 0.8, 0.68 volts going back and forth. Extremely power efficient. It's sipping the power, but MCE, as I mentioned, is enabled by default on K-SKU CPU. So what exactly is it doing? Well, if we go ahead and run Cinebench R15, and if you guys can download this yourself, you can follow along at home. It's absolutely free. It's a nice little utility just to play around and see what kind of scores you get when you play around with overclocks. You can see our voltage jumps up to 1.248, technically 1.25, which is higher than the standard voltage that you would see on a non-MCE motherboard. Also too, you can see all of our cores went to 4.7 gigahertz, which is something that typically only the main core, whichever core is being loaded the most, would go up to 4.7. So that, on a very basic level, is what MCE or multi-core enhancement is doing. It is allowing the overclock or the turbo clock to apply to all cores, and it's allowing the voltage and the load line calibration and all that stuff to sort of self-adjust to go with what it thinks would be stable for an all-core overclock. Because technically Turbo Boost is an overclock. So with our optimized defaults and all out-of-box settings, we got a 1,557. Now that's the score that prompted some people on Twitter to be like, hey, what the heck's going on? Why is your score higher? Well, again, MCE, like we talked about. Now, if you recall, I am running a water cooler on here. This is the Celsius S36, the 360 rad with 3 fans, because the moment I started to push the overclocks on this core or this chip whatsoever, even a little bit, it started to get hot. So that's why I was concerned about MCE and whether or not the audience or the consumer should know about this, because most people don't know that this is actually happening. And if it's bumping up things like voltages and you're not running adequate cooling, it could cause some problems over time. You are actually putting more of a load on your power delivery than you are on the chip. And if your motherboard isn't up to snuff, then that's something that could cause long-term reliability issues. And that's where companies like ASUS really have to draw the line on which motherboards should have MCE enabled or even such a feature if the components aren't up to such a task. So if we take a look at our voltages here, it looks like 1.328 volts was the max peak that we saw. Temperatures, we went all the way up to 71, low 70s, high 60s on water with defaults. So keep that in mind. And that's one of the reasons why I ended up putting the water cooler on here, where I still have the air cooler on the Ryzen system, or technically, yeah, this is Ryzen, right? Yeah, 1700X, because this wasn't seeing those types of temperature spikes, because Intel, once again, with their shitty thermal paste in between the heat spreader, saving a buck by not soldering. That goes all the way back to, what, Haswell, where we've been complaining about this, and Intel doesn't care about our opinions, but I digress. These temperatures right here, remember, are on water. So what happens if we disable MCE? What's gonna change? Let's find out. So here's the UEFI BIOS here in ASUS motherboards. If you're running a modern ASUS board, this should look the same pretty much across all of their motherboards. It just may not say ROG. But look right here, XMP is disabled. That's fine for now. What we're gonna do is hit F7 and go to our advanced settings, because if you notice, when we're in the basic settings here, the easy mode, you don't actually see any of that MCE or multi-core enhancement stuff. I mean, here's your rapid storage technology. If you're running Optane, you can turn that on there. Easy system tuning. This is where you can one-click overclock, right? You can set it to different settings and then hit apply, but we don't want any of this. We just want to leave it as is. But look at that. There's no mention right here whatsoever of multi-core enhancement. If you go into advanced mode, F7, and you go over here to AI Tweaker, core ratio limit set to auto, core ratio sync all cores, that's normal. Asus multi-core enhancement is set to auto.
Auto.
Now what if we go ahead and set that to disabled, right? Oh, look at that. We disable it. Now we get some of our settings that come back. But what we're gonna do right now is all we're doing is disabling it. We're gonna go back into Windows. Very first thing we're gonna notice right here is check this out. Look at the core clock. See how the 4.7 numbers bouncing around? They're not just locked at 4.7. See how they went all the way down to 4.3? Yeah, the max core in all of them at some point will say 4.7 because they're bouncing around, but check that out. We are not seeing the same level of just pegged at 4.7 because that's what MCE does. It applies the max turbo speed. It's not actually overclocking beyond the turbo, but it's applying the turbo to all the cores. Let's take a look at the voltage right here though. If we go up here, we can see the voltage came up to, where'd it go? 1.372, okay, but we're sitting right around 1.6. It'll peg up to last week, Intel's one of the reasons why I ended up putting the water cooler to 1.3. Still can't answer that, but they were definitely at 4.7. Cooling needs when the average consumer isn't going to be aware of that. Because check this out. If we go in here right now, this is the easy mode, which we've already showed, and we enable Profile 1, check this out. Would you like to apply the all-core enhancement, remember MCE, with the XMP settings for improved performance? Select No for Intel stock operation. Sufficient processor cooling is required under all-core enhancement. They just warned me about that when I enabled XMP, but they never warned me about that when I booted the system the first time or assembled it. If you as a consumer are not aware that this is going to apply more voltage and it's going to require better cooling, I feel like this warning that you're seeing on the screen right here should be applied whenever MCE is enabled, especially on a first boot on a system that's applying it by default. That's my rant. With all of that said, it doesn't all fall on the motherboard manufacturers though. This is where it's important for reviewers like myself to start testing for this in both. What's up everyone, Jace2Cents here. We're going to take a look today at the new ARC 90. Not to be confused with the old ARC 90. I don't even know if there is a regular ARC 90, but this is the new ARC 90 from Gamerstorm. This is actually a case designed by Deepcool, where they took the water cooling loop and built it directly into the case. The new Cooler Master H500P Mesh White provides max, of course, your local postal service. But this is kind of neat. I don't recall the last time I've seen a gamer mat come with a case. And then something else is build quality. What is the loop LEDs from and radiators, where it actually goes on the back panel of the case and not the front or the top. Now remember, this is a built-in water cooling loop. Unfortunately, there is a fan blade completely missing from one of the 280 millimeter fans. So you can see the fan hub and everything right here, even the LEDs, obviously there's supposed to be a fan right there. Now it looks like we have a triple fan radiator, but we actually don't. Down here where the bottom fan is, there is no radiator. It's just a 280. So that means there's two 140 millimeter fans here and here, or in this case, 1.5. But you can see the hub where the fan was, the LEDs that light up the fan and everything, even the copper coil right there to make the fan turn, thinking maybe it fell out in transit, maybe it got dropped during shipping, which could have knocked it out, which would have kind of absolved Deepcool of any issue with that. So it looks like we have 1/4-inch rubber tubing running from our radiator over to our pump. This is basically the same pump you'll find in their Captain Series AIOs, and the way they get around the Asetek patent is the fact that they bring the fluid outside of the pump and then back in on top, making this not an all self-contained unit, which is how they kind of get away with not having to deal with Asetek, which in my opinion is a good thing, because we need more options besides Asetek. You can see on the back right here though, this is where it exhausts the air from inside the case. This is an exhaust, so it is pulling fresh air from inside the case and blowing it out the backside right here. Kind of becoming a thing a lot more case manufacturers are doing now, kind of utilizing this space on the back of the case to, not a captive thumb screw, keep that in mind. But they're kind of utilizing that space to keep a more open interior. And I've not done any testing though whether or not that kind of a 90-degree bend the air has to make in that open space could actually affect cooling. But, oh, okay, there it is, found it. But as I was saying, I've never actually done a test to see if a radiator mounted on the side like this, having to kind of pull air from the main compartment like this, is more efficient or not. Obviously, we have a more open configuration. Our hard drive cages go down here in the bottom, and then you can put front side fans on there if you want. But obviously, there is no intake fans whatsoever on this case, and only one exhaust fan in the back. Now we need to see if we can't pop this guy back on. Hey, there we go, good as new. We'll just chalk that up to the shipping company. So here's a 280 millimeter radiator right here. Don't confuse this with a standard Asetek style radiator because this is a cross flow and not a double pass. So the water comes in the top right here, flows through all the rows at the same time, and it collects down here at the outlet where it's actually routed to the front of the case where we have a very thin tube style reservoir with LED lighting behind it, RGB lighting of course, to light up the fluid on the front of the case. This is purely an aesthetic. It's not something you can actually open up and service. We'll take a look at that closer in a second though. But that's probably why we also don't have a 420 radiator version unless they switch this over to a double pass, because you have to have room for this fitting right here on the bottom. So even if you had a 90 right here, there still wouldn't be enough room on the bottom of the case before it impacts on the floor. Well, they might be asking yourself, Jay, if there's nothing down here to cool, no radiator, why is there this fan? Well, this fan is actually pulling air through where the hard drive cages are, so this is giving you some active airflow over your storage. But on the back of the case, you have two SSD trays there, an ample opening here for a large power supply if you need it. Plenty of room right here for your wire management to be able to pass through. Lots of rubber grommets, making it easy to route cables the way you need them to. And then of course, we have a lot of LED and fan controller functionality pre-plugged in on this case. So you provide SATA power to it, and then you can actually power your LEDs and your fans off of this cable. Now the front of this is not coming apart nearly as easy as I had hoped. There's some tabs here on the inside that hook onto where the fan is, or the fans would go, and the metal is just kind of flexing around in there and not unhooking like it wants to. So it's, there we go. Pull it from the bottom. So the plexiglass, the tempered glass is actually attached to this solid panel. Now, if you're gonna be putting in front fans right here, keep in mind the only place it's gonna be getting air is through an opening at the top right here, these very restrictive slits on the side, and this little bit of a cutout on the bottom. Otherwise, you could actually put three 120 millimeter fans right here. I don't see any mounting holes for 140s, so only 120s are gonna fit in the front. And then kind of the same thing on the top. The problem is the metal just wants to flex where these are, but it looks like these are obviously identical pieces for the top and the bottom. So you got three hot swap drives right here, which is kind of funny. They're hot swap on the front, but you actually have to remove these three screws from the side in order to get the hot swap portions to actually come out. They're in there really tight right now though, because all the case accessories are sitting in there, like this box right here, and this guy right here, which is making them not slide too easily. But once you take those out, obviously the hot swaps are pretty easy to get in and out. So in this black box here, we've got a few things. Looks like we've got a mounting mechanism for a board tray, and the pump is, you replace the pieces, obviously using the manual, with the mounting bracket for your socket type, and then you can obviously mount this down to your motherboard. So you can see the block is full copper right here, so it's a perfect size for stuff like AM4 or Intel. Not gonna be very good in my opinion for something like Threadripper. I don't even think this supports Threadripper according to the manual. Nope, it doesn't, but it supports all your standard Intel and AMD sockets. Too small for Threadripper though. So the mounting plate's pretty straightforward. You've got these standoffs you push through based on the type of socket you're installing in, so obviously use your manual for that, RTFM. Push it through the backside, and then you've got these retainer nuts that actually have a rubber washer on them to keep from grounding anything on your motherboard, and these lock down to hold that into place. So you take the crossbars, mount these down on the standoffs that you just placed to those crossbars until it pretty much comes to a rest. One other thing worth mentioning is it does have a vertical mount option for the graphics card. You can see we've got some standoffs here pre-installed for that option, but the actual riser card meant for this case is an optional piece, so it doesn't come with the case. It's something you have to buy separately. Headphone, microphone jack, power button, but also your LED controller and your fan controller are on these little buttons right here on the side. And here's the three fan installation points on the top of the case that I mentioned. So you can have 3 on the front, 3 on the top for a total of 6, plus the 3 140 millimeters on the side, plus the 120 or fans have. So you can also has a little glowing RGB GamerStorm logo right here, rear fan, and the front reservoir, as mentioned, also has here, but obviously the fans aren't turning, and you can control the different modes with this button right here. So they're pretty basic. It'll cycle through the different colors. It'll either give you a solid color, and you can control the brightness of it, but you get the idea. You've all seen RGB, and you know how it works. taken a lot of the guesswork out of cooling your CPU. Expect the results to be as good as any other the cooling, because the cooler is pulling directly from the volume inside the case and not through the air being pulled in through the front or exhausted through the top like a traditional format. So because it's mounted to this back wall, it's...
What's up guys, Jay's 2 cents here, and you remember a couple years ago I did a basic beginner's guide on how to water cool your computer? Well, here it is. Unfortunately, it's in some serious disrepair, and actually some stuff going on in here. I want to take a look at the inside. You can see this inlet completely, this is the inlet to the reservoir to the pump, completely collapsed on itself. So I'm expecting this block to be completely gunked up. But this is actually like an old Athlon X4. It's a very low watt part. And actually the owner said that it never even overheated and stuff, which I believe because it's such a low wattage part. But, you know, one of the best things we can do around here is, you know, take care of these computers and provide tech support for friends and family, but it's also in serious need for an update. So we're gonna kind of do two birds with one stone here. We're gonna take this loop out, we're gonna look at our domain. Fortunately, because I don't wanna have to disassemble this inside of the system, but you can see at the bottom of this reservoir how it's all kind of black and gunky. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what that is. I mean, it could be growth. Normally growth has a little bit more of a green color to it, not this sort of a black color. But I have a, whoops, there goes a bracket. I have a feeling that what is inside the loop, or at least inside the block that has completely clogged it up, is the same stuff as this. So we're gonna be completely building a new system. The only thing that's really gonna get kind of transferred over here is the hard drive. So there's the thermal paste. Thermal paste looks all right. I mean, didn't expect it not to be. So here's our loop. See, comes out in one piece. So here's the XSPC block. We can actually just take an Allen key and undo these four and then see what's going on inside the block. But first I have to drain it. Here's all that gunk I was talking about right here. I'm pretty sure that's what inside the block looks like. And one thing to point out though is this owner actually has a few dogs, and you can see that as much as we tried to clean this out, listen to that fan. That one's completely dried up, this one's completely seized up. It's important to really dust out your systems as often as you can. If you have pets, or you smoke, or you vape, or whatever, near your computer, then you're accelerating the level of which the degradation can happen to your fans right here. These are old Yatloon fans. They were used when I gave them to him. But yeah, he's also a disabled veteran, so I'm not expecting him to get down and crawl around all the time and clean this off. But I'm just wanting to kind of show you what long-term use with a pet environment actually looks like on fans and stuff. He would have noticed this a lot sooner had he had a more powerful chip that would have actually noticed when it was getting cooling issues. So if you guys are wondering what this loop was, this was just a distilled water with PT Nuke mix. This was not a fluid, like a premix or a concentrate. This was just straight up distilled water. I mean, the tubes collapsed on themselves and then just sort of never came back. It's kind of crazy. Oh, exactly what I expected to see. Ooh, that looks like doo-doo. Ew, completely clogged. It's even solidified. So that's why there was no more water flow going through there. Look at that. This could probably be cleaned even, if you want to know the truth.
Toothpaste.
But yeah, I don't think it's so old. We're just gonna go ahead and do this quickly. We're doing and ram the stuff that he maybe a year before. Jeez, time flies. All right, let's do it.
Let's build the new shit up. Engine. Okay. DDR4. How much memory cards do you use? The bracket. Let's turn off. Mount the PCPSU. PCU. It's gonna change it to all-in-one. PDGA.
So here we go, his new tower up and running. It's got a GT Fatalities AIO cooler in there, so it has to worry about gunk and stuff building up in another custom loop, making this a lot more maintenance free and a lot more easy for him to maintain. And like I say, he's a disabled vet, so I don't want him to get down, crawl around on the ground or whatever, trying to take care of this. So you might have noticed too, I installed the power supply upside down, so it's pulling air from this vented shroud right here rather than the floor, because the first thing I asked him, especially after cleaning out the other case, is will it be on carpet or on a desk? And he said it's going to be down on the floor on carpet. So I don't want it pulling up dirt and dust. And even though he's not going to let the animals in that room, it's, you know, how animals are and hair and all that, it will get in everywhere in the house. So I don't want it sucking any of that dirt up into the power supply, so we inverted it. But as you guys can see, oh, and the case obviously here is a Define C from Fractal Design. It's a tempered glass edition, so it has a tempered glass side panel. You can see in there a huge upgrade from his previous build, which was like an Athlon X4, I think it was, DDR3, and it was certainly a dated system. So now he can play just about any game he wants at high resolution, high settings. I want him to be able to just max the settings out, and that's what he can do now. So anyway, guys, I just wanted to bring you guys this video and show you kind of what happens with a soft tube loop that gets clogged up and gets gunky, and giving you guys more ammunition to be like, this is why you shouldn't water cool. But you know what? Doesn't matter. That's what we do around here. We love water cooling, and I'm going to always advocate it. But we did an AIO in this one to make it as much less hands-on as possible. Anyway, guys, we're going to go. Thanks for watching, and as always, I'll see you in the next one. Do you guys remember about a year and a half ago, I was doing a video about how the FX series processor, although old, was a much better bargain? This is what gives your CPU power specifically. The only two colors on here are yellow and black. That's because it's giving 12 volt and ground, and that's it. And nothing. Can't have been a bad power supply all this time. We are plugged in, right? Yes, we are plugged in.
We are plugged in, right?
Interesting, says me. Just to make sure we've got good power here. I mean, what do I have to lose now, right? I would love for it to not be a bad motherboard or CPU, obviously. I would hate for it to have been sitting here idle all this time. Okay, so obviously we have power. If my power supply went bad, you bet I'm going to contact EVGA and be like, hey, give me a new one, because I bought this guy. I bought it with my own money. God, that's such a terrible place for the 8-pin. Can't get my hands in there. My big fat hands. Oh wait. I'm trying to plug PCIe into the CPU. That'll go well. It's keyed, it wouldn't have gone anyway. Get in your home. This is worse than trying to do it on a tank. Metal is sharp. You ready? Okay, we're gonna try and power it up now. Ah, did you hear it instantly click? Yeah. And it clicked back off? Now we know it's not the power supply. But here's the thing. Now, if I unplug the EPS,
The motherboard.
we have now narrowed it down to either CPU or the motherboard. I basically was banking on it being CPU. The audience, however, was like, no, those problems that you're exhibiting are more so in line with a bad motherboard. Wouldn't it be kind of cool if my dad's motherboard lived on in our test bench? Obviously, I don't want to blow it up, right? I mean, I already blew this one up. There's always that one standoff that like unscrews with the screw. You know, someday we'll clean up this wiring issue, huh? Like we'll actually come up with a decent power distribution system. Not today. So if we end up getting the same result, we'll watch this fan will tell us what's happening. If this fan starts to turn and then stops instantly, we'll know it. There you go. So you can actually hear the power breaker or the safety system inside the power supply keeping us from killing our stuff. Now we're going to go ahead and remove the cooler, and we are going to put in a new CPU in this motherboard. I don't know, we can take bets now, Nick. Do you think it's the CPU or do you think it's the motherboard? Motherboard. I'm kind of leaning that way too. So if anything died on this motherboard, it's potentially VRM. Maybe what we'll do, if it does turn out to be a bad motherboard, we'll take off the heatsink. We'll inspect it, and we might see a fried component. But I don't see any chokes or capacitors that are swollen or leaking. That's when we get to see if we won or lost in terms of our bet, because we bet the same. Power's on. Same thing. Okay, so it looks like the internet was probably right. How about that? I hate when the internet's right. Hey, I'm on the internet. Does that make me right? Yeah. All right, so let's just swap everything over to this board. ASRock Killer board, Fatality. So this was my dad's CPU. So we're gonna go back with this one. This was the original CPU we did our overclock testing with. It'll be nice to have the FX system up and running again though, because I want to do all kinds of testing, like bottleneck testing and content that like applies to more people. Turn right back off. Did we kill both? Let's try this again. Man, that would be, if I killed CPU and motherboard like all in one. But it's staying on for a little bit longer, isn't it? Well, that thing's being stubborn. You know what though? It makes sense that if we killed a VRM, we could have potentially also killed the CPU. So I'm just gonna swap my dad's back in there. So now we've got my dad's CPU and my dad's motherboard. So it should work. If it doesn't, wow. So we killed not only the motherboard, but the CPU too. I can't remember the last time I killed two components in one. So we were both right, internet. I did kill the CPU. The motherboard was what killed it. So you guys were technically right first. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna kind of cut this video real quick, and then we are gonna come back with the rig reassembled and however I decided to assemble it. So we'll see you guys in a minute. All right, so this is the Fractal Design Meshify C. This is the rig I put together for the FX build. This is a 1060 just chilling in there temporarily. And as you can see, we're in the BIOS. Unfortunately, what you guys didn't see was I couldn't get it to boot with my dad's CPU in there, which I know for a fact worked prior to doing this video because we used it many times. So I think by putting this CPU in the other motherboard, killed it. It has now gone to the CPU heaven in the sky. So yeah, I'm bummed about that. His motherboard still works, so at least I have that. What's in here right now, in case you're wondering, is an FX 6100, which I had laying around and haven't used in years, just to verify that it was a dead CPU. And so yeah, in the process of all of this, I've killed one motherboard and two CPUs. It powered on, it's just the CPU gave us no video. So now I've got to get a new CPU for this. We were running an 8320, now I got to get an 8350. Maybe we'll get like an 8370 or something like that. But we got one more thing to do before we get out of here. I'm gonna shut this down because these fans are running full speed. We've got to take the heatsink off of the other motherboard to see if we can see a damaged component. At least get something educational out of this. I guess in hindsight, the way I should have tested was by putting the bad CPU in the good motherboard. But how else would we have known that this was a bad motherboard? Well, I guess if it worked in the other motherboard, right? Anyway, there's that. Let's take these off. See. On the surface, it does not look like anything popped in terms of the VRM or the delivery. I mean, we've got a little bit of thermal paste or thermal tape compound, thermal pad that stuck to it. I don't see any bad components in here at all. Everything looks fine. That's the crazy part. So yeah, now I got to get a new CPU, but at least we'll have a working FX rig once again. So guys, give this video a like if you feel any pity towards me right now, or give it a like if you don't, or whatever. You know, I don't really care, to be honest. I'm mad. I'm mad at this thing. Anyway, I'm gonna go, guys. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. What's up, guys? Jay's 2 Cents here, and I had an idea for a great video because today is the official launch day of Battlefield 5, one of the launch titles for NVIDIA's new, well, it's not even theirs, actually. It's just ray tracing. Ray tracing in games, and we've been waiting to see what's the performance going to be like. New cards with features that weren't even available on launch day. Well, they're here now, and ray tracing is something we're going to be checking out in Battlefield 5. Not the first to do it, but first time we're doing it on our channel. And we thought, what if we do SLI? Because SLI, right? NVLink, we've got all this renewed focus from NVIDIA and Tom himself saying SLI is going to be a new focus of theirs. And then we found out that you have to have DX12 enabled to have DXR or ray tracing happening in the game. And unfortunately, DX12, for whatever reason, DICE has decided not to support SLI. So you can do SLI without ray tracing or ray tracing with no SLI. Then we also found out that they don't even support DLSS yet, which is one of the other functions that you're supposed to get with the tensor cores in here, and you're going to have AI super sampling where it's going to be offloading that from the CUDA cores, making a much better gaming experience that, again, no titles currently support. So a video idea that went completely out the window because of the fact that, once again, here we are with tech that was touted about for 2 whole hours on stage, that most of it still isn't even available. Metro Exodus, not out yet. Shadow of the Tomb Raider still doesn't support any of it. So instead, we're going to show you what the baseline performance looks like with a single card, in this case, the 2080 Ti Strix. I do have 2 of them. That's what we were planning on doing SLI with. The other one's over there on the bridge. So, yeah, the card, for whatever reason, is still not available on the market. But I digress. That's besides the point. We're going to see what happens when we overclock, and can we get a playable experience in Battlefield 5 with ray tracing on Ultra.
Do you want to be cooler? Do you want to be more desirable? You know what, guys? I got new merch. It's available now. Crowdmade.com/J2Cents. We got zip-up hoodies. We got Tri-Blend. We got a new logo. I digress. Since 2012, it's a digress logo. You guys have been asking for that. Anyway, we got all kinds of stuff. Zip-up hoodies, beanies, polos. Don't take my word for it, because obviously I can't do this ad. So just look in the description below and you guys will find the link. Thanks.
Okay, so here are the settings. We're going to start off without ray tracing or DXR turned on. And I want to address something here real quick. The reason why we are using a 1080p panel and we are not capturing this, we're pointing a camera at it, is 2 reasons. One, we are running a 144 hertz panel, which our capture card caps out at 60, and it's DisplayPort, not HDMI. Second, we're using 1080p and not 1440p because if you look at the Steam hardware statistics of millions of computers that have actually been hardware scanned, and they have a database of what hardware is what, there are 62.4% of users on Steam still using a 1080p panel, 3% are using 1440p, and 1% are using 4K in the 16:9 aspect ratio. This is reminiscent of the user experience that people are complaining about. The other reason, technically a third reason, is a lot of people said that with 1080p and all settings maxed and RTX on, we're seeing a drop to 30 FPS in Battlefield 5. So I wanted to test that. And to do that, like I said, we're using our Strix card at stock clocks, and then we are going to overclock it to see how much we can improve the experience and can we get to or stay above 60 FPS. And to do that, here are our settings. In the advanced menu here, you can see that we have DX12 enabled. DXR is disabled because we are, again, testing this with just DirectX 12 first. And everything else is completely capped out. Frame limiter at 200, which is the Frostbite engine cap. Vertical sync is off. No upscaling. GPU memory restriction, technically we'll make that off because we have 11 gigs of RAM, so that should be plenty. Graphics quality and everything else is as high as it will go. We are going to actually go into the campaign. We found a mission here that has lots of water, lots of shiny stuff where we can go in there and check reflections. That's in War Story. And don't worry, out of the box, and 2080 Ti reflection. This is not actually ray tracing because watch what happens when I scroll to the right. This is a reflection of the back of the car. And what's happening here, hopefully, wow, that body. Okay, hopefully I don't die because this is the perfect spot to be. What's happening here is this truck and this world is being just flipped upside down and then drawn on the water. There's no perspective. Watch what happens when I block this truck with the back of this truck. Watch what happens in the water. See how it's blocking it off? Because if that now rendered the back of this truck upside down right there, that would be physically wrong. So instead of showing you something physically wrong, it just removes the thing. And the player is doing the same thing too. See how that's just a big block of whatever running by? So what you're seeing right here, although it looks great, this is what ray tracing was designed to kind of give you, is this more realistic reflection of things that are happening in as viewing angles bounce. And that's exactly what happens with a reflection. You are seeing a bounced angle of something else, a bounced image. So here's another example of screen space right here. My gun is creating its own straight line down. So as I turn the gun left, look at the water. See how my gun is creating this sort of a buffer right there in the water? So that's an example of rasterization, screen space, reflections. This is just a bright image drawn on the ground to say, oh, something's on fire right there. But it's not an actual reflection. And my gun will probably block that too. A little bit. You can still kind of see it, but it's shining through. But that's not a reflection of the truck on fire. In fact, you can barely see the truck. As I get closer to it, you can see that's just a pinpoint light source that's drawn in the reflection as part of the screen space. So let's go ahead and restart now with ray tracing enabled and compare. So our FPS We'll go back over here to the same truck scene so that we can get our baseline FPS. So kneeling right here at the back of this truck, 150 FPS. So very same scene, just reloaded with ray tracing enabled on Ultra. You can see our FPS significantly dropped, 64, 63, 62. But how before how I showed it was just sort of a glowing effect on the ground. You can visibly see now this is animating. This is a true reflection of the fire. Now if we come over here to the truck, remember what the truck looked like before? Look at the detail now. You can physically see the truck. And do you see how it's still rendering that truck in the reflection even though it is out of sight? Now that didn't happen before. I'm being shot at, so I had to move to the side. That didn't happen before because the way screen space reflection actually cheats is it only shows what's directly being rendered with line of sight. It doesn't render things that are behind objects. That's what ray tracing does. And so that's why this is actually impressive from a technological standpoint. So regardless of what your view is on FPS or playable or realistic or whatever, you know, NVIDIA this, NVIDIA that, just the technological advancement of what ray tracing is able to do, to me, is really impressive. In fact, if I kneel down and kind of start scooting back here, we should see the truck appear in the reflections before we can even see. Oh yeah, see there's a truck right there that's behind this object. See that? Do you see how the perspective shift happens in the reflection? So now as I scoot left, you should see the truck. There it is. Are we still in Ultra? Let me see.
Oh, we're on low.
Wait, we're on low?
Yeah.
Let me go to Ultra. We're probably gonna get a huge performance hit. Yeah, we're on low. Holy crap. You see what I mean? You could still use low and get a pretty good FPS experience. Here's Ultra. Oh wow. So what happens is it's really a resolution change, and it makes everything a bit sharper, gives you more depth, I guess. It kind of renders off in the distance a little more, like I showed you with the fire. I like how they're looking at me like, yo dog, what are you doing? Oh yeah, so as long as you point straight up at the sky, you're good. 124 FPS. 41, 43. I mean, yeah, this is, oh wow, this is laggy. That's certain. 34 FPS, 35. As I come up here into the larger world, look at this. Oh boy, this is taking a huge hit. If you understand what's involved in ray tracing, that's not terrible. Yes, I know, I'm well aware that sounds like Jay is shilling for NVIDIA. NVIDIA had nothing to do with this video. This is purely my opinion, but we're gonna go into multiplayer now because what we experienced, we played this beforehand. Multiplayer was not as hard to render as the single player. Normally it's the other way around. Normally single player is like not that hard. You go into multiplayer with 64 people in an open world and it's just like a chug fest. Oh, here's a car right here. So, whoa, look at that. There it is right there. I want someone to go running by, but look at the flag. You see the flag right here and you can see it in the reflection?
Can you see you?
No, I don't think the player model is.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, crap. There I am. Hi. Ray tracing is very distracting. Look at that. I guess that makes sense. I am an entity that's being rendered, right? What about look at the glass. Look, everything's sharp in the glass. So you actually have an orange peel effect on the paint, but sharpness in the glass. All right, let's play for real now. Let's stop looking at reflections and let's see. Okay, so, but I mean, that was, I guess I'm just a nerd for this stuff. Maybe that makes me a shill. I don't know. I just love this nerdy advancement in technology. I'm sorry if you don't, but I'm getting 86 FPS while there's a fire burning to the right of me and showing up in reflections. Okay, so here's the bottom line. We're getting a lot better than 30 FPS in Battlefield 5 multiplayer and what a lot of people are complaining about. I don't know if this is just one of those people are trying to get hits and views based off being super negative. Oh, look at this time it's like here's the fucking car you're looking for. There you go. Look at the reflection right there. Look at that. Dude. And we're getting 100 FPS while doing it. So there's your proof that the glass was reflecting. Okay, I don't know if people just like to get off on negative news and whatnot. I'm a nerd for this sort of stuff. I think it's amazing. I'm running around right now. The reflections and stuff are amazing. I'm not saying the performance is amazing. I mean, obviously we can get well over 150 FPS with a single card. We drop down below 100 with everything on Ultra, down to around 70, 80. With it on low, I'm getting 100 FPS at the moment. It's unfortunate that there's a lot of people out there that are just super negative rather than seeing the advancement in technology that we're getting here. But at the end of the day, there's two kinds of people. People like me who really get off on the amazing advancements that we're getting with graphical, enhancements and detail. And then there's the guy that just wants a high level of FPS, doesn't care about that, doesn't stop to smell the roses, and both are perfectly fine. This is obviously not the card for you if you're the latter. And unfortunately, now that I've seen real-time ray tracing in person, screen space reflections are just bleh. All right, guys, I'm gonna go. I just wanted to take a look at RTX and share this with you and see is it playable? For me, the answer is personally yes. For you, it may not be. Sound off in the comments below on what you think of this and whether or not this is something you even care about. Would have loved to have tested SLI so we could get back way above 100 FPS, but unfortunately, DICE has no plans to implement that. Guys, thanks for watching. As always, we'll see you in the next one. Eventually, I'll kill a guy. Okay, before we die, we found a room that has all polished tile floors. Look at the reflections on this. Watch what happens when I shoot the wall. Look down here in the reflections. That is sick. Okay, you guys can go now. I'm just gonna keep doing this. That is sick. That is sick. Okay, you guys can go now. I'm just gonna keep doing this.
My back boobs are sweaty. Okay, we ready here? What's up, ladies and gentlemen? TI. And the reason why I'm doing that is they made some minor changes. Angry Birds reference their logo on GPU core, and it looks like VR ready. Graphics cards, VR ready motherboard of the case or what, but it's worth noting you can't have them hooked up at the same time. So with that said, before I start talking about build quality and stuff like that, let's put it through the paces. Let's compare it to the other 1080 Ti's I've already had come through here on things like Firestrike, Time Spy, temperatures, and core speeds and all that. Gaming-wise, guys, they pretty much are gonna scale the same. So let's just see how this does. I'm really curious, let me tell you why. This is actually, I forgot to mention it, this is a 3-slot card. I talked about 2-slot and 2.5 slot. This is a 3-slot card. I mean, that is insane. Look at the girth on this. Coconut Monkey would be proud. Are you proud?
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, it's all about length. I'm telling you, it's length.
That's great, bro.
It's length.
Great.
Length. Obviously, is there cooler? Now the RS graph part of the log moves off the chart. The min-max move off the chart here on their card and installing this software. Now in terms of, so I think that, if I don't recall, had any coil whine. And that's what the card sounds like when it's in 3D mode. So you can hear there's a little bit of coil whine. I shoved the cooler down so hard they squished. It doesn't feel all that strong. Now I know this is gonna make some people cringe, but it has to be said. It has to be shown. This metal needs to be changed out with something else. I would take a plastic shroud over something that is this flimsy, even if it's metal, because watch this.
Oh my god.
I just went ahead and broke a piece off the cooler for you guys, just to show you how flimsy the metal really is. The card is great in just about every aspect, except for this. Anyway, that's been my 2 cents, guys. Take it for what it is. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you're new around here, and I'll see you in the next one. Yeah, I broke that for science. I broke it for science. Boom. Science.
So are you guys sick of RTX content yet? I hope not, because we got lots to talk about.
Do you want to be cooler? Do you want to
Use today. Custom PCB, custom power delivery, and a massive amount of cooling.
Damn.
So this is the MSI 2080 Ti Gaming X Trio. Can you tell why they call it Trio? It's got 3 fans. It is a custom PCB. It's got triple power plugs on here. So it's got 2 8-pins and a 6-pin, obviously because of beefed up power delivery. Massive heatsink. As you can see right here, it's got a smaller fan in the front. A lot of people were like, why the smaller fan? Well, this piece is actually removable. As you can see on this card, I removed it to put in our NVLink bridge. There's actually 2 screws that you have to remove to take this piece off. I'm not a fan of that because easy to lose, Easy to lose those screws in that piece or whatever. It would have been nice if it had made it so it was just like a slot that could pull in and out, just like the cover for the NVLink on the Founders card. But this right here should hopefully give us a good advantage when it comes to the other guys who are going to be doing SLI videos right now, aka Steve Gamers Nexus. I'm coming for you with these bad boys, and I've got a trick up my sleeve. Hope you're watching, but by the time you watch, it's already happened. So I also put my X299 Dark from EVGA back on here, which has my 18-core, 36-thread Intel 7980XE. There's two reasons why I did that. One, I mean, graphics score is what we truly care about when it comes to the GPU. So the CPU gives us a nice combined score for that world record spot, which we're gonna get today. But it's more or less, I changed this from my 8700K Maximus board because of the slot spacing. The Maximus board has a 4x slot up top, and the first 16x is actually slot 2, which pushed the card down 1, which made it completely sandwiched to where the two cards were touching, and you could not use it in that config. So that's something you need to keep in mind. With the beefy size of the cards these days, if you are going to be going with an SLI setup, definitely not cost effective, but the elitist and the enthusiasts out there will probably do it. If you're pushing these cards up against each other, which is very easy with these being 2.5 to 3 slot cards, you need to keep that in mind. So you need at least a 3 or 4 slot spacing. We're using 4 slot right here. As you can see with the triple card, leaves 1 slot in between. Now I did do temperature testing with it sandwiched. The top card hits 84, 85 immediately with the fans at 100%. Bottom card sits in the high 50s, low 60s. As soon as we spaced this out with 1 space, the temperature stayed within about 8C of each other and totally under our thermal limits, which we set. So as long as you have 1 space in between them, you should be okay. So with that, let's go ahead and fire this up and let's see how well this is actually scaling. We're gonna compare it to our original benchmark numbers of the Founders card. So with that, let's power it up. Oh look, rainbows. I put a picture up on Twitter showing the cards. And most people were like, oh my God, the RGB puke, blah, so sick of RGB, blah. You know, at this price point, if it didn't have RGB, I bet you'd complain too. So in preparation for these behemoths though, I've got my 1600 watt, it's a gold rated PSU, but we're not gonna be using a whole 1600 watts. I've got headroom. I've also got a 6-pin PCI Express plugged into the motherboard for supplemental power so that it's not pulling all those watts just through the traces and the 24 pins. So it's being directly supplemented to PCIe, which can help with overclocking stability. But again, I've got a total of 6 PCI Express cables hooked up to this. We're also going to be using Precision X1 for our overclocking, because not only are we going to SLI, these are overclocking cards. If we don't overclock them, what is the point of having them? Custom PCB, custom cooling plates, big ass heat sinks, 3 fans. If we don't actually overclock these cards, I mean, we're just leaving performance on the table. So if you guys want to know more about how to use PX1, because I'm not going to go into it in this video, we did a video about how to overclock RTX cards. You guys can just go and check that one out. We go into in-depth on all these different settings. What this is, oh, it is an NVLink interface. It is. One card, we're seeing some titles pretty much bottlenecking. So we're using all the same bottleneck. Even with one card, we're seeing some titles pretty much bottlenecking. So we're using all the same settings we did in our launch video. The only thing we're changing though is temporal AA, because this, it even says right on here, not optimized for multi-card, it's not recommended to be used. So I'm using SMA and FXA on this one. To give us a baseline, just so we know, my EVGA RTX 2080 Ti XC Ultra, which is another custom cooler option, gave me 65 FPS in 4K. Our Founders card gave us 66. So within 1 FPS, which is kind of expected. So let's see how much we actually gain in SLI. Is it scaling? If it is, how much is it scaling by? 104.96 FPS. We scaled 61.9% improvement with 2 cards. That's actually pretty good. Some games don't even scale 50%. So in Shadow of the Tomb Raider, we're set to highest settings right now. I have a feeling this one's gonna actually be pretty good. Average FPS 124, so that's more than double our baseline test. Yes, we are overclocked, and that's probably why. So if we overclock the other card, which is about an extra 100 megahertz, we might have seen the baseline test go to over 60 FPS, which would still be 50% of this number. So look at that, 124 FPS in 4K, highest settings. So latest titles that are built around RTX with NVIDIA's internal promise of making SLI a more relevant thing again, appears to be, well, future facing. What if we go back to an older title like Rise of the Tomb Raider? That's one that was always kind of a shit show, right? So our test with the old driver, non-overclocked on the 2080 Ti Ultra was 80. We got 144.81 here. So again, good for 144 Hz 4K panel, not perfect scaling, but definitely scaling nonetheless. Temperature-wise, our card reached 62°C, but you know what? I think we can get these temperatures even lower.
Oh my god.
Yo, where you at, Steve? Huh? I bet you didn't see this coming. Okay, so Jay's Chiller 2.0 is now ready to fire up. But at stock speeds right now, you can see our CPU is at 20C, PWM or power is at 18C. This motherboard itself is at 16. But we're gonna go straight to 3D Mark with our overclocks and our GPUs, and we're gonna see exactly how we do. All right, so 13,789 in Time Spy Extreme, a graphics score of 14,532. That is massive in Time Spy Extreme. And if we go ahead and compare these results online, Time Spy Extreme for 2-card scenario, number 1. Where you at, Steve? I should probably shut up. He's probably going to smash my score, but that's fine. 13,789 combined score gets us number 1 in Time Spy Extreme. We are going to go ahead and just run through the gambit. We're going to go through all the Time Spies and all of the Fire Strikes and see where we land. Obviously, we're going to be in the top very high percentile because not many people are running this config. So as long as people are taking time to get their setups going, I'm going to take the leaderboard while I can. So I spent the last couple of hours now benchmarking and tweaking tweaking the cards, that is. SLI, often you get a lower clock speed in SLI than an individual card. So one thing to keep in mind. So here's what we ended up with. If we go over to 3D Mark, Time Spy Extreme, and we go to 2 cards, look at that. World record holder for the next day or two until the overclockers get their SLI bridges. 14,043 is my score. Our graphics score is a 14,884 with a CPU score of 10,638. Time Spy Extreme, 2-card, another record holder for me right there by quite a bit, actually. 2,670 points-ish higher than number 2 right there. Again, if you look at our total score, so you can compare your graphics scores if you have this test. So we got a graphics score of 14,884 and a CPU score of 10,368. So moving on to Fire Strike Ultra.
Wow. Ryzen E9. Whoa. He's using 32. 32, yeah. 4,000 3,000 has, yes. Buy from Steam. What? Yo, alles goed, Jacob? Zit even mijn PC te kijken. Voor even die branchmark. Test je confirm game console stream maar de nummer permission. Ja, rustig. Lekker chilling. PC Mark 10 of 3D Mark. Branchmark your PC with test based on Steam. Ik heb nog nooit mijn PC getest eigenlijk. Wel getest op de gewoon blijven draaien met de OCCT. Ja, sliep gisteren vroeg. Hoe laat? 4 uur? Vroeg, ja, tuurlijk vroeg. Beter dan helemaal niet slapen. Maar ja, word gewoon snel wakker. Hey, waar is mijn Steam? Ja, zie J2Cent toch? That's it. PC Mark 10 is the latest version of this industry standard PC. Oh, deze heb ik niet nodig, man. Nee, man. Oh shit. I got some ashy. Ik heb een beetje zo gefixt. Even kijken. Oh ja. Ook een goeie. Misschien ga ik wel kopen. Ja, maar het is geen game, het is een brand, maar het is gewoon... Uh, 3D Mark. Kijk aan mij. GTX 1080. Neon doet nog streamen met dinges, man. Hij krijgt nu meer viewers op Black Desert Online, ja. Wow, een TI. 140. 110. Die andere is 100. Oh, het scheurt niet heel veel. Ah, oké. Jawel, het scheurt niet. Soms wel, soms niet. Tussen 10 en... Ja, ik zie ook 1080. Dit is 1080. Ja, man. Toen dacht ik van, ik ga niet meer terug naar Black Desert. Ik heb nog een poppetje. Of ik heb zelf 60 euro voor skin betaald. In mijn leven ooit. Ja, man. Zo gek was het. Ik heb drie patch. En 1 full set armor. De set armor was iets van 20 euro, denk ik. En die 3 pad was 30, zoiets. It's about the same processor. The Founder Edition. Zo hoog? G680 i7. Ja, hij is gewoon online. Hij is gewoon online, Leon. Op Discord. Oh nee, niet meer. Hij is gewoon helemaal letterlijk off. Of zijn PC letterlijk off nu ook. Omdat, hij is farmen toch? AFK farmen toch? Wat ook. Ah, dus mijn PC redt er ook best wel hoog op FreeDMar eigenlijk. Oké. is the money. Zijn we misschien wat goede games? Oh ja. Weet je wat een grap was? Gisteren ging ik met die boys Call of Duty, toch? En ik ging met control spelen. Ik ging de control aansluiten, ging spelen. Oh my god. So fucking weird, man. In het begin kon ik 1 kills maken. Daarna helemaal geen kills meer maken. Fucking moeilijk, hé. Blok 17, 20. Yep. Geen andere goede spel dan maar. Ja, ik heb mijn shit geüpdate. Ja, dus ging die sensitivity omlaag gooien. Blijf hitten, omlaag. Maar ging gewoon bijna hetzelfde, weet je. Van 1 horizontaal ging ik naar 0, van 1 naar 0,9. 0,9 naar 0,8. En verticaal was 0,7 zelf. Nee, 0,68 of zo. Jongen, is lastig, man. En dingen pakken duurt langer. Maar je hebt wel één voordeel handig. Dat je kunnen snel switchen in plaats van dat je op de menu gaat. Ja, maar die frame is beter. Veel beter, die frame. What the fuck? Lol. No. Ya puedo aturar, pues. Ga niet zeggen dit is VR. Oh no. Totally accurate. Battleground. Is gewoon echt letterlijk PUBG geworden, ja. Oh ja, als je toch nu even hier bent. Ik weet al wat beter kunnen spelen. Kapot vet al. Ik laat je wat zien, hè, grappig. Weet je nog wat? Ik had nog laatst over die ene game. Over die Jurassic Park. En die winkel. Je hebt toch winkels die je eten kon verkopen en shit. Je hebt één tent. Waar je dingen van $2 je baseline inkoop is $2. Ik verkoop ze nu voor iets van $25. Fucking. Wat was het? De profit is meer dan 10 keer. En de inkoop was die van $1000. 1500. Ja, echt zware nakkers en bowlingbal. Omdat ik pauze niet zoveel extra. Ik pauw maar zoveel max. Dus mensen proppen gewoon in. Dus bowlingbaan is gewoon 800 mensen of 900 mensen vol. En hoeveel kost het? Ik gooi er bijna op max 80. Nee, 77. Want als het op 80 is, dan heb ik niet 800 mensen plus. Ik laat je zien. Yo, die profit is pumping, ouwe. Geloof mij, ik heb gewoon kalo veel geld. Dat is niet eens. Maar. Dus ik moet de hele tijd switchen van eiland. Om het andere. Maar eigenlijk op zich hoeft het niet meer. Omdat ik heb echt fucking veel geld. Alleen wat ik wou fucking gisteren op WhatsApp vroeg. Dat is de andere. Die Fireverity. Ik heb altijd min. Dus ik weet niet wat er aan de hand is nu. Maar deze game is best verslaving, ja. Kijk, die bedoel ik. Op zich is het niet te moeilijk. Ik snap het nu wel, hoe en shit. En dit is waar mijn T-Rex, of nee, deze en deze kunnen samen wel wonen. Zelfs deze is, ze gaan elkaar niet aanvallen. Want dan weet je wat Fatu was? Ik ging deze hier erop gooien. Blijkbaar het is te veel population. Ze houdt er niet van. En dan gaan ze dit allemaal kapot maken van mij. En ik heb laatst deze gefixt. Ja, deze. Hij is op max al. Misschien meer, ja, ik denk misschien te veel, maar of de game... Oh!
When he first started down this prehistoric path. Fast learners, dedicated personnel. Well, I'm sure there were some.
En deze wil heel veel forest, toch? Maar nog steeds heb ik niet genoeg forest voor hem. Dus heb ik extra hier eruit gepaald. Bam. Hele kalo, één dikke forest achter hier erop gooien. En hier is een water, dus genoeg chaps. Oh ja, hier waar ik over heb. Ik weet niet meer, hè. Misschien is het niet meer hetzelfde. Ah ja, hier. Ik gooi... En die werkstaaf is al max. Dit is max. Dit is max. En I make profit. Alles. Alle vijf. Alle vijf make profit. Kijk. De upkeep was maar 2000 en de profit is fucking veel. Maar deze... Het is heel duur. Expense $2 en dan $25. En ik werk al max. En hij zit bijna vol. Bijna vol. En natuurlijk, ik heb 2 hotel. Maar er moet ook wel genoeg klanten komen, toch? Shelters genoeg. Metro heb ik ook al gefixt. Ja, ik ben ook on. Oh shit. weet je niet. Welke map is dat? Ik laat je zo zien, ja. Oké, fuck it. Welke map is dit? 1, 2, 3. Deze is leuk. Deze mag je helemaal opnieuw bouwen. Je mag doen wat je wilt. En deze is die kleine eiland. Maar ik heb al unlock. Maar die heb ik nog niet gespeeld. En deze heb ik al klaar. 4 ster plus. Deze skip ik. Probleem is, ik moet een missie doen waar ik een virus van een dinosaurus moet genezen, maar die heb ik nog niet. Dus ik moet deze level skippen. Anders heb ik die dinosaurus dood. Alleen deze vind ik echt nog best wel lastig. Maar oké. Dus ik heb hier al mijn shit. En gruwelijk is mijn facilities hier. Andere is alleen research. En hier kan ik vessel. Oh, waar zijn de shit? Ik kan hier doos spammen. Ik heb 2. Ik spam echt als een gek aan. Oké, eerst afmaken. Ik ga ze alle. Kijk hier, finance. Profit. En expense. Dus ik maak half a ton. Nee, half a mil. Half a mil. Restaurant. Kijk, deze maar 10 dan, hè. Soms moet je andere fixen. Nee, die moet je maar minder mensen gooien. Als je te veel gooit, dan pompt die andere niet. Maar soms kan je vragen 77%, eten, drink, shopping niet. Dus ik denk, maar kijk, deze is ook eten, weet je. Dus, omdat ik wil niet, deze is niet vol. Omdat deze is te duur. Oh, hij is bijna vol. Kijk. Dat is een grap. Ik heb deze heel duur gemaakt. Hij is de goedkoopste. Maar ik maak... Kijk, je kan nog max gooien. Maar dan komt niemand. Dat is te duur. Dan gaan ze niet betalen. Maar deze... Ik heb nog geen max. Maar... Hij is max. Maar als ik eenmaal deze max gooi... Kijk, mensen willen eigenlijk niet heel graag hier komen. Omdat het is te duur. Daarom is hier gewoon fucking vol. Maar ik laat gewoon maar 3 mensen werken. Dus ik maak ik maak deze redelijk prijs. Kijk, hij is maar... Je weet toch, zo'n Saji, ze zeggen altijd, je moet 1/3 moet je van pakken, toch? Dus 10, als ik verkoop voor 10, moet ik minimaal 30 verkopen, toch? Minimaal. Dus ik verkoop nu nog geen 30, 40. Dus ik heb wel max mensen. Oh, trouwens, ik ben wel online in Discord, alsjeblieft. Wow. Fun. 50% fun. Kijk, bowlingbaan is gewoon... Kijk, maar als ik 1 veranderde, dan heb ik 900 niet meer. Of dat die kerst. Oh wel. Yo. Yo. Je moet bij mijn stream die geluid weghalen. Dan. Maar ik nak ze dood met die geld, weet je. Dus ik heb fucking veel profit, waarvan ik doe eigenlijk niks. Ik kan gewoon toerist shit doen. Je hoort mij wel, toch? Hallo, hallo. Joseph? Hallo? Oh.
Heading to the feeder now. Confirming task.
Confirming tax. Ik heb wel fucking veel andere soorten. Oké, die eet ze op. Ja, ik ben op Discord. Ja. Ik hoor je wel.
Nee man, ik hoor je niet.
Hallo, hallo. Hoor je mij? Hallo, 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 hallo. Hallo, hallo.
Yo, yo. Ja,
Hallo, hallo.
beetje
Hallo?
zacht alleen.
Hallo, hallo. Nu beter?
Wacht even.
Nog.
Zeg nog eens wat?
Hallo, hallo, hallo. Maar je hoort mij wel op mijn stream. Hallo, hallo, hallo. Joseph? Hoor je mij? Hoor je mij? Hoor je mij?
Ik hoor je niet man.
close Discord. Hoor je mij nu?
Ik hoor niks, man. Check even je settings van Discord.
Hoor je mij nu? Hallo, hallo? Hallo, hallo? Hallo, hallo, hallo? Hoor je mij, Joseph? Hallo, hallo? Hallo, 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 hallo? Hallo, hallo, hallo? Hallo, hallo, hallo? 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 Hoor je mij?
Nog steeds niks.
Hoor je mij? Hallo, hallo? Op mijn stream hoor je mij wel. Hallo? Oh, living dreams. How you doing, man? Oh, sad. Omdat ik nog aan het streamen ben, zegt hij dat ik moet run as administration. Yeah, but the i7 is good, man. Gonna be good. Nee, hè, je hoort mij niet, hè? Nee, hè, je hoort mij niet. I stop the stream for a minute.